The greats don't let comfort kill their growth. And what I mean by that is once you become good at something, once you're comfortable, once you're making money, the good people, they kind of sit there. They rest on their laurels. They kind of say, okay, I've kind of made it. I'm good here. Because we always hear that comfort is the killer of all growth. And I think that's the difference between the greats. They don't sit on that. Like they're good is never good enough for the greats.
Our guest today is an active real estate investor, the host of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast, and the founder of Vodacy.com, the #1 vacation rental investing education company in the world. He's here to help you build a life you don't want to take a vacation from. Welcome to the show, Shawn Moore.
Awesome, Mike. Appreciate you having me. Really excited for our conversation today.
Super excited to have you here. Thank you so much, Shawn. I want people to know if they're trying to spell Vodacy, I want to make sure they get it right. It's in the show notes, but it's VODYSSEY.com, correct?
You got it.
Awesome, brother. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Appreciate you being here. Love your podcast, as we were saying off camera. I'm going to say this on camera. I love that you have your kids actually set up the intro of your show. It just puts you in a great mood, great spirits when you're listening. You kind of get to know you before we get to know you. And that's a great, whether that was strategic or just something cool, really love your show.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, we have a lot of fun with them. We wrap them into our business. They get quite involved with what we're doing. And so, everybody says, make sure you keep that. They sound a heck of a lot better than me on the front end. So we'll let them keep that job.
Yeah. Well, they did a great job too. It's not like you just had them in there and they were, hamming it up. They did a great job. Here's why I wanted you on the show. There's many reasons, but to get it right from the jump here, I know you've helped thousands of new and experienced investors navigate the complicated world of vacation rental investing, which I'd want to know a little bit more about. So share the story of how you actually made that a reality, which is really cool. And then how did it begin? How did you get into this field?
Yeah, it's I'm gonna kind of rewind the clock way back. I've been doing full-time real estate investing for 23 years now. That's all I've ever done. So bounced around a lot of different asset classes, bounced around a lot of different ways to make money in real estate. And in the beginning, I was doing a lot of wholesaling, fix and flipping properties. Kind of a typical what you would see on, or people would think of, okay, if I'm going to go into real estate, fix and flip seems like a good option to start with, right? I mean. But I remember in my 20s, I was doing this and we started building up what we thought was a pretty decent little business, my wife and I. And I remember going and really kind of puffing my chest out. I was in northern Utah and I was one of the bigger fix and flip guys in the area. And, I was the guy that was going to wear the gold chains and have the cool cars and really thought I was awesome, right? I mean, really cocky at the time. And I showed up at this real estate investment club meeting. And this old boy named George he just basically had enough of me, probably about the fifth or sixth one I showed up to. He put his arm around me. He said, Shawn, you got to take it down a notch. You really got to, tone it down, quit referring to yourself as a real estate investor. You're a young kid. You got a good business, but you're really not an investor. And my jaw about hit the floor. And I'm like, George, what are you talking about? You're crazy. I've been doing this and I'm one of the best in the business here. And he said, no, you're really not. You have a job fixing and flipping houses. And he said, unless you have a portfolio that you can go, take off for 2 months or 3 months and it still continues to pay you, you're really not an investor. You don't have anything passive, right? And so At that time, early on, my eyes were kind of open more because of the gut punch he told me I wasn't as cool as I thought I was. Really, that's what it was. It was an ego shot, right? It wasn't that the message, but the message he told me with that ego shot just resonated with me and stuck with me. And so I really started to think about, okay, there's short-term real estate deals, there's long-term real estate deals. I needed to start to learn the long-term game and build passive income. And for me at the time, I was diving into single-family long-term rentals, multifamily properties then, and just trying to get my feel for what I really liked, what really resonated with me. And I had the opportunity in 2006, because I did a lot of development deals as well, and we were developing this property, and I went to this hard money lender and said, hey, would you lend me this money on this property? And he said, no, I'm actually getting out of the lending business, but I really like you to come and join me and join forces. And we're going to develop this big private ski and golf resort, this big resort in Utah. And I told him no for a little while because we were still had our own business, right? We were building our own business and doing okay. We weren't we weren't billionaires by any stretch, but we were doing a lot better than average. And I
Sure.
didn't want to work for anybody else. But he was pretty persistent. It was a pretty big opportunity, not an opportunity we could do on our own. And so we decided to go and help them on that side of life. And things were going great. I mean, we had private jets at the airport. We would helicopter people around, to this. I mean, we had a Gulfstream sitting at Salt Lake City Airport. We would just go get on it
I was going
three
to
or four
say, were
times
you
a
out in
week.
like the Park City area, which
Yeah.
is the really nice
So we were
ski lodges and resorts?
actually we were further south of Park City. So we were based in Park City area. Our office was 20 minutes from Park City, and
Oh wow. Okay.
and then so a lot of people were coming in. They understood, we our clientele were higher end, like these were 25, $30 million homes. So they were second homes. They weren't even primary residents, right? They were 25, $30 million second homes. So a totally different world that I was exposed to. And we had a lot of fun. I mean, what we would do is we would take the jets, we'd bring them in to Vegas because then we'd take helicopters up from Vegas into the ski hills. And they would have a lot of fun. And we did that for 3 or 4 years building this resort. Well, one day the feds came into the office and locked up computers, locked up file cabinets, and everybody is looking around like, what the heck is going on? Well, the owners of this resort got indicted on securities charges. And it was just so overnight, it just shut down and things
No,
were
it's your
going
big.
well.
It was a huge client for you, obviously, right? So now there was a pause in income flow.
Yeah, if this resort got indicted, it was our only client. And so
Okay,
it
wow.
just shut down. It was the only
Yeah.
thing we were doing at the time. We built up at the time I talked to George, we started building up single family rentals and we had some passive income coming in. I had about 52 rentals. We had sold them all because we're like, oh, that's not the game. We don't want to play in that game anymore. We want to play in this big fancy game, right? And so we got rid of them.
How old are you,
And
Shawn, at this point? Like you said, it sounds like you hit success pretty early.
yeah, I was in my late 20s, 29, 30 years old. And so,
Wow, okay.
and so this was in 2000, end of 2008 is when this happened. So and so everything shuts down. I actually threw myself about a 6-month pity party. I felt sorry for myself. I played the victim. I took no responsibility. I looked around and said, hey, this isn't my fault. These guys, man, they shouldn't have done that. We have a great resort. We have all these great clients that are coming in that want to do this. Let's keep moving it forward. Well, there's nothing to move forward. And so you have to decide, okay, so you have to say, okay, that chapter's gone. Let's get back into the game. Well, I didn't do that. I literally felt like I sat on a couch for 6-8 months until I lost everything. And we were making, really good money at the time and enough to not lose everything. But I was spending it as fast as I was making it. Right. And so I was hanging out with people that had unlimited funds. I didn't have unlimited funds, but I was spending it as fast as it was coming in. And so there's another lesson, right? And, when you're young, you always think, hey, I can make more tomorrow, whatever. I'm going to have fun and I'm going to make more tomorrow. Right.
I'm a little curious, like let's pause this for 1 second. I appreciate you sharing that and getting vulnerable and being very open about something that sounds like the bottom fell out there. And personality wise, the maturity level wasn't there quite yet. But even before that, like before you were successful in real estate, you don't start that with really like $0 in the bank, right? You have to have something saved that you can either invest or put into your first property or two, even if you're doing like small, like single family homes or multifamily or duplex or something. You got your first property, you might have like 50 grand saved and you could start doing your real estate portfolio. How did you get into that? Was there someone early on, like a mentor or someone you looked up to that kind of showed you that life? And how did you hit the ground running as fast as you did?
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to in college. So I've always been kind of an entrepreneur at heart. I was the kid that had the lawn cutting business, and then I would deliver the milk and everything. So I'd always go find something that was going on. And I built a roofing company actually, and through high school started building a roofing company. I also played college basketball, and so I was a scholarship Division I college on scholarship in Division I. And at the time, you couldn't have a job if you were a Division I athlete, and especially if you were on full scholarship. You could if you weren't on full scholarship, but they're paying for everything. So the NCAA actually came to me and said, "Hey, you either got to get rid of the roofing business, or you've got to do something, or you can get rid of your scholarship, one of the two. And I'm
Right.
going to keep my scholarship. I'm going to keep playing basketball and have fun with that. And so at heart, I've always been an entrepreneur. Because of that, I spent a lot of time in Barnes and Nobles and bookstores and everything else. Back in the day, that was your option to go there. And
Yeah.
I always was interested in real estate. I got a job right out of college for about 6 months, and I moved to Denver. And again, I saw this guy, and he would commute with a helicopter. He would have this really nice house in this area by our office. It wasn't where I lived; it was kind of by our office. And he would come in and out with this helicopter. And I actually happened to I had a couple books on lease options and wholesaling, because you can do that with very little money. And
Sure.
I was reading these books. Well, I noticed on this helicopter, this guy's name on the book that I was reading. And so I looked it up a little bit further. He had a weekend seminar going on, and I started. His name was Peter Conti, and I went to his weekend seminar, and it was teaching us how to wholesale and lease option houses that you didn't own. Right, you didn't have to have the big money, and so that's actually what got me into it. And my first couple deals were just wholesale deals. I didn't have to have the money. I just went and found a good deal, negotiated it, and then another investor bought it from his group, and I did that. The first one I did, I got a check for $19,000. At the time, I was only making $31,000. So I took that money, and that's what really got me started. I just said, okay, I'm running down that road from the beginning.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the entrepreneurial journey. That's why I asked the question to kind of see how someone creatively can get to where they're at. Because it's really, I've done 180 plus episodes. It's never been by accident. Someone falls into wealth. It's by a lot of discipline. It's usually most of the people I've talked to are kind of first generation successful entrepreneurs too. It's not a lot of silver spoon
Yeah.
action going on. It's like creating it from nothing. But I knew that there had to be something that positioned you into that, because that's typically not your first gig is going to be these $30 million resorts out on the outskirts of Park City. Very, very cool story there. And I see if you're listening, you're not getting the full experience here. Shawn's got the cowboy hat. He looks like he's on set either in Nashville. Where are you at right now? Is this home, or is this
I'm in northern Utah by the Park City area. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're out
this
there.
Is my office, but this is our office that we're here.
Man, it's like a cozy lodge feel that he has going on. If you guys are listening and not watching right now, it's setting the tone. I really appreciate it, Shawn. So now there's people tuning in because they know who you are, and they know that you're into real estate, and they know also that there's that connection to the vacation rental side of it. So maybe we can answer this in like a two-part. If you want to give some 101 like level early success, like what are some things that are non-negotiables that you have to do if you're going to be successful early on in rental, in real estate rental? And then like, is it different for vacation rentals, or is it kind of the same let's call it equation or formula applies for both?
Yeah, I think the macro formula is the same, right? It is, one, you have to understand that nothing happens overnight. You've got to be in it for the long term. You're going to have some hard times, right? You've got to be persistent, and your first deal doesn't just fall in your lap. It doesn't matter what type of investment or real estate is, or any business you start, right? There's going to be that time that has to be put in, and you have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and put it in. There's no easy button out there. And on the micro level, when we get into vacation homes, they're different. They're a different asset class, right? And there's different ways to underwrite them. There's different ways that you have to stand out to create these experiences. You have to understand what you're selling so that you can stand out in a crowded marketplace. Those are still sort of macro concepts that you have to take with any business, right? The customer experience is important. You have to have target audiences. You have to know how to speak to them and articulate what you have to offer. Those are the things that are going to help you succeed in any sort of business, but specifically with vacation rental investing or any other sort of investing that we do. You just have to understand the asset class and who your target audience actually is and what you're selling.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way if someone wants to get like more information on that from you directly or your company? This is a little bit of opportunity to go infomercial mode.
Absolutely.
But how can someone get more from you on that?
Yeah, go to vodyssey.com, and it's VODYSSEY. It's just Odyssey with a V in the front of it, and vodyssey.com. And I've got a book on there called What the Hell is a Lifestyle Asset? And we introduce people to a 9-step process to really get into, understand this asset class, kind of walk into it with their eyes wide open to decide if it's the right fit. Short-term rentals are just like anything else. There's pros and cons with them, and you got to make sure that it's the right fit for you.
Mm-hmm. And in addition to getting all the, making sure people are getting all this knowledge and that applicable knowledge that they can actually go and run with this and do it themselves, I'm interested in a little bit of your mindset. So a lot of times, entrepreneurs, we're always feeding off of more. We want to level up and we want to continue to get more. That's why I love doing the podcast. Really, selfishly, I get so much great information, and my connections are like through the roof right now from people that came through Mic'd Up. But I just enjoy meeting people, hearing their story. It inspires me directly. It's kind of your first audience member. So I'm wondering, you talked about reading a book already, and you happen to see the guy who was flying around in his helicopter. What are some of the influences that really like were game changers for you, and maybe something you're currently reading that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So and I don't know if this is old school or new school. I think it's applicable all the way around, but I always feel like I'm fairly old school. Like I really believe in like grit, determination, just like really going after what you really want to go after. I also don't like to reinvent the wheel. I'm a huge believer in mentors and coaches who really understand what you're doing. There's a lot of people out there. There's no shortage of knowledge out there. There is some
Hmm.
shortages of experience, right? And so finding somebody that has that experience and has some of those miles and hours that they put in, and be able to follow their path and get some guidance, but understanding that doesn't there's no easy button out there. One of my favorite, probably my favorite book, is Tim Glover. It's called Winning by Tim Glover, and then Relentless. Those are two of my favorites. And
I didn't read Winning yet. Is that the newer one?
yeah, it's the newer
Relentless
one. So
came out probably
Relentless,
about 2017. Talks about
yeah,
him and Michael Jordan and how I love his story. I'm sorry to interrupt, but just a quick story for the audience. If you don't know Tim, go and check those books out because Relentless is fantastic. I agree, Shawn, and I'll check out Winning. But what's really cool is working with Michael Jordan is no like that. That's no slouch. Like he's
yeah,
one of the biggest stars athletes the world has ever seen. And Tim, he was just like a coach that he didn't really have a resume, and he just like went into the facility and was like, I'm going to coach Michael Jordan, and made it actually happen. So I got
yeah,
to I want to get Tim Grover on the show for sure. So those
yeah.
two books right there are kind of your it's really good stuff. I know Relentless is like no nonsense. He's kind of got a
It
little bit of a hard ass feel to
he
him,
does.
but it works. It's
It
good
works.
information.
Those are two of my favorites, and both of
Yeah.
them are awesome. And for different reasons, you'll read them and they'll resonate. Like both of my reference back to. I love a lot of different books. There's a lot of amazing books out there, but like you're familiar with Relentless. It's like it's no nonsense. Let's take full responsibility for everything. Let's be accountable for our own success, and we're gonna roll up our sleeves and make it happen. Right, the good, bad, the ugly.
Mm.
We're gonna make it happen, and I think that might come from my experience of I tried the other approach. I tried blaming everybody else. I tried being really cocky and acting like I knew everything and having that humility of really losing everything and saying, okay, that formula didn't work. Now I'm going to go this other route, and that's really what
Is that what
resonates
it
with me
took,
today.
Sean? Like you had the complete crash and burn? I was going to ask that next.
Yeah,
Is like you mentioned, even when that client fell apart, there, you were still spending as if you had, endless money, and then you hit your, face
yeah,
first on the ground. Is that what? Then what? How did you have this coming back to like, okay, let's start, press the refresh button? What did that
yeah.
look like?
There was two things that really changed me in my life in the direction of what I did. That was one. The first is I had to lose everything. I lost my house. I lost my vehicles. We were literally walking up. Like I would go at nights when the drive-ins would close, and I would pick up the change because people drop. People used to actually pay with cash, and
Right. Yeah.
now that not
Couple
as much
bucks on the
anymore.
ground, few
Yeah,
quarters, you'd end up with like
yeah,
$3 after a
yeah.
couple hours, probably. Oh
After
my
and
god!
you would just walk. I
Yeah,
would go, because if there's a McDonald's, there's also a Burger King and a Arby's and everything else. So I would go to all of them when they closed, and I'd pick up. I was down to nothing, and I met a guy that said, hey, when you take responsibility for your life's going to start to change, right? And so and that was my next mentor, and really got me back thinking about,
hmm,
okay, what can I do to go really back up what I lost. And so we started
hmm,
getting back into real estate. When I lost everything, I actually had a second home in a mountain community in Utah that I didn't lose. There was it was a vacation home, and I lost my primary home. I lost everything, but I started putting this home on KSL is a local classified in Craigslist. It's like a Craigslist, and
Yeah.
and so I started renting it out, and that's really what opened my eyes that maybe this vacation home thing has something. And I actually was making a little bit of money from it, not a lot, but I didn't lose my home. And this was
Yeah.
when homes were tanking, right? This was from
Uh-huh.
2008, 9, 10, 11.
Oh shit!
And
This is like you're starting to come back up, and then the Lehman's crash happened at the same
oh,
time. It's
yeah,
opposite directions.
exactly. I'm like, and I'm in real estate, right? That's what I do. And I'm like, okay, this is not the best time to go back into this, but I had to. I really didn't know
Yeah.
anything else. I had done that
Yeah.
for my entire working career.
You know what though? Like one thing I do love about Grant Cardone, because love him or hate him, there's some good stuff that he
Yeah,
has in his books and everything. Is he'll always say like when everybody's going in one direction, if everybody's like turning their back on real estate because it just crashed, like then go all in because then now
absolutely.
you're now everybody's not in that arena anymore. So you're going to be one of a few, and even if things are bad right now, they're going to turn around, and you'll
Yeah.
be like, imagine running a race and you're like 3 miles ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
Like good luck,
That's
nobody's going
exactly
to catch
it.
you.
That's when you separate from the pack. And the older I
Right.
get, the more I've been through 2 major crashes now. We're going into a shifty market again for the third time. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's when you gain your ground. And most people, I don't know if sometimes we've all heard it. We've all heard
Mm-hmm.
that saying, hey, listen, when everybody's going left, you go right. That's
Mm-hmm.
when you build. That's when you're going to build your biggest gains, or when everybody else is ignoring something or not wanting to get into it. And I
Yeah.
don't know why we don't listen to it. I didn't anyway. And maybe it's just because I didn't experience it until I experienced how big of a gain I made when things were tanking during the last crash. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like I've heard Grant say, one of his mentors, he said, never waste a good recession. Right. And it's one of the things that he always says is don't ever waste a good recession or a downturn or hiccups in the market, because that's when you separate.
Yeah. Very, very good. Yeah, I have respect for anybody who's built really financial freedom for themselves and living a great lifestyle for themselves and their family like you have. But there's a different level of respect, Shawn, when somebody loses it all and then they still figure out a way, and that humble. There's a moment where, like you were talking about, picking up change at the at the drive-in or outside of McDonald's and stuff, and I had some rough moments where same kind of thing. I remember saving up quarters just to go through the drive-through at McDonald's one
Yeah.
time when business was bad, like really in the early days. And so I can have a similar connection to that. But I like hearing someone that's willing to go back there and do that, and you weren't too good to do that. Like you knew that it wasn't going to last forever, and then you eventually made changes and
Yeah.
took responsibility and had mentors. You built a ladder with foundation so you can climb on it. You weren't just like hoping for the best and like trying to claw and scratch at the side of a mountain, like, because that's dangerous and you're just going to fall back down.
Yeah.
So I have a ton of respect for you and your story. What I'd like to do before we take a quick 2-minute time out, I'm just wondering, financial freedom means different things to everybody. So I'm wondering what your definition is for that. And then is that something that you have circled on your vision board that you're after for yourself and your family, or is it just kind of a byproduct of what you're doing?
Yeah, no, financial freedom to me, and I think a lot of people are closer than they think to it. At least my definition is making sure that you have assets that can pay your living expenses, pay your bills. Like, what are your car payments, your house payment, all the things that you need to live, and then having assets that, whether you work or not, are able to cover those bills. And that to me is financial freedom. That number is different for everybody. Everybody's financial freedom number is different. Like for us, I've been financially free for over a decade now, since we started building back up. And it didn't take us long to get there. It doesn't mean I don't work. I still work, and my financial freedom number goes up a little bit as I buy more stuff. Right. And so I need that nut I need to crack continues to go up. So that number keeps going up. But really, it's just having assets that can pay for your living expenses.
Yeah. Real estate's something I'm super interested in because it has that kind of recurring revenue source, whether it's from renting or just, you put money into it and then it gets money out of it in a pretty short return flip on it. I am not very well versed in it. That's why I'm not going super deep in on some of these questions,
Yeah.
because for me to actually know the right question to ask, I need to know the details on it. But this is a little bit more 101 level. And then, like I said, if anyone's looking for 2 and 3 100 level coaching from you or courses that go to your website, right? Odyssey, and they can learn from you there. But yeah, and that's including myself. Follow up with you and learn some more, because I have my podcast agency where we produce and distribute and do social media content for podcasters. Really, we're growing nationally now, which is exciting, and even have a client in Canada. So now I could say we're international. But make sure that I'm not false advertising. But it's been growing like crazy. But I know as that grows and starts to kind of like run itself, and I can have other people on the leadership team, I'm excited to journey out there and get into more rental properties and go visit somewhere, and you can own property in the different places you like to go on vacation, and then you can go check them out and do what you need to do. And a lot of people run all that remotely now anyways. You don't even have to physically be there, right?
Nope.
But it's a great excuse to get out there and say, I'm going to Park City. Like if you live somewhere else, I'm going to go visit a client.
Trip,
Where are
right?
you going? Work trip. Yeah. Let me make sure I bring my skis with me, But that's a lot of really great information. So let's do this. We'll take our quick 2-minute timeout. We'll be right back with Shawn Moore. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you. And that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight. And Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business. All right, we're back in action with Shawn Moore. Remember, you can connect with him on social media. I got all those links in the show notes. His website that we talked about a couple times is right there for you to check it out as well. And guys, I want to share something with you. If we don't catch Shawn at the office, as we talked about, he's spending time with his family, his 2 kids. He's on the river. He's at the beach. He's on a mountain. He's riding a horse somewhere. He's on his skis. Whatever he's doing, he's out there. He's hanging with his family and his friends where phones and computers don't work. He's out in the mountains, right? So, Shawn, share some of your favorite family highlights that makes this hustle you're talking about worth it.
Yeah. I talk a lot about, we talked before the break about financial freedom, right? I always talk about lifestyle freedom as well, and being able to do those things that we want to do that are important to us, and being able to spend the time with the people we want in the activities we want without having to decide, is do I have the money to do it? All those different things. And to me, that is maybe more important than financial freedom. They definitely go together, right? For me, like you mentioned, I love the outdoors. I like spending time where we're disconnected. I spend a lot of time in our business and what we're doing. We love Odyssey, and I do it because we love it, and we work hard. We're here, we're growing. We've got an 8-figure a year company. That takes hard work to do, right? But I love to disconnect. And the reason I love lifestyle assets for me personally, when I started getting into them, is being able to take those work trips, right? Go check out our properties, go check out our, where, the experiences that we're trying to give somebody else, we want to make sure that we dial that in. And so we spend a lot of time with the kids. For me, that was really the big game changer. You want to mention before, I had two major game changers in my life. And when it was just me, and I look back, I'm like, man, I don't know that, I don't feel like I was a bad person. I felt like I was a really cocky type person. It was all about the money. I was just chasing the dollar. And even when I lost everything, my goal was just chasing the dollar. It wasn't
to go
about
back
anything
and
else.
get it again.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm going to go back, get the money again. Right. And we struggled to have kids. It was really a difficult time for us to have kids. My wife and I struggled for about 8 years, and we lost everything. We finally started building up some money where we could get back into real estate investing and do what we really wanted to do. But we were facing the decision of saying, hey, listen, your option is in vitro fertilization. It's this new procedure called ICSI. It's got like a 20% chance of working. And by the way, it's $150,000 and you have to write a check and nothing covers it. Right. And I'm like, I was all for it until they told me the money. And I'm really, really embarrassed to say that I was saying, okay, I'm okay not having kids. At the time, I didn't know what I was going to be missing, right? But my wife was like, listen, we're doing this. We want to do this. I was ready to fight it. I was ready to say no. I really couldn't. She put her arm around me and said, this is important. We want to do this. And, we were blessed with twins. We were blessed with twins in
That's
2011.
awesome.
And that's when my life really.
You got teenagers. You got teenagers around the
Yeah,
corner.
they're going to be 12 this year. So yeah, they're
I know,
not
they're
quite
just getting
there.
right. They're
They're
on the
not
brink.
quite there.
They're on
So
the brink.
we're still they still think we're cool. We're still having fun with them so but they're right on that edge of like, okay, we're done with mom and dad, right? It's but they really
Are they
changed
both
everything for me.
2 girls, 2 boys, one of each?
One
What
of
do you
each,
got?
one
Of
boy and
each.
girl.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
That's
Wyatt and
awesome,
Grace.
man. Hey,
And
cheers, brother. My
thank you.
brother had a really hard time with his wife, and they went through some really challenges. And I have another friend who still hasn't been able to have kids. So it's one of those things when you're young, in your early 20s, all your friends are having kids. You kind of think, oh, that's all you do is you do the deed, and and we'll find out what happens. And like it's not really that easy for everybody. And there obviously the science behind it is not. So I want to say something real quick. Like total respect for your wife. I didn't know if when she was in the picture, but you just had alluded to the fact that you guys, when you lost everything, she was with you and she stayed with you, and you guys built it back up together. That is, I have a ton of respect, because that's when you know you got the right partner, when they're with you truly, like we say, on our wedding day, like through thickness and health and everything. Like, it all sounds good on your wedding day, but is someone actually going to back you up when things go sideways? If you get sick, if you lose your wealth, and something happens to you, not everybody does. Some people, I've seen it where it's caused a divorce, right? So ton of respect for your wife, man. Shout out to you and your family.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mike. Yeah, Teresa's been with me since we were 15 years old. Teresa's the only girl I've ever kissed. So I've kissed one girl my whole life. And that was because we were early on, and been together ever since. So we've had a lot of fun.
Well, I know you're not Italian, because at every Italian party you got aunts and your mom and this and then every's kissing each other at the front door.
It's been a fun ride with her, and she's got a lot of patience to put up with me for as long as she has, and we have a ton of fun.
Shout out to Teresa, man, right there.
There you go.
Awesome. Yeah. There's part of your why, right? Your kids and your wife, and that's what makes it. All that hard work is like, you don't even question it at that point, because you just know it feels so good that when you win, it's not just a personal thing like when you were 29 and winning meant, maybe one more round on a jet or whatever you were doing. This is like, hey man, we get to like spend a week vacation, an extra week or something, because we're doing that much better.
Yeah.
We don't have to look at the expense sheet,
Yeah, and we're in a position where that makes, luckily we're there, right? We rolled up our sleeves and we put ourselves in that position, which, it was interesting when I had the kids. Somebody asked me this on a podcast recently, and it was interesting how my view has changed. When I had them, it still was like, okay, I want the money for them. I want them to not have to struggle like I struggled. I want them to have a different life than I had. And financially, right? I want to put them in a position where they don't have to struggle. And for me, the last couple of years, as they've started to get older, and like I've always said, okay, I want to have this portfolio. They're going to be taken care of. We talk about leaving a legacy and wealth for our, for our family and our kids, so they don't have to worry. What's more important for me now is not necessarily leaving them anything. It's teaching them how to do it on their own. Right now, I'm very much like focused on, okay, I want them to know how to roll up their sleeves. I want them to know how to, hey, when you struggle, this is how you bounce back. And for a long time, I wanted to guard them from all the struggles. I wanted to guard them from, anything. And they could be in a position where they don't have to worry about that stuff. And it's really interesting now as I get a little older, that how important to me that is to like the legacy I want to leave to them is to set them up to where they have the right mindset and they have the right attitude to really go build it for themselves.
Yeah. That is one of my favorite things we've ever covered on the show. Mic drop moment right there. Because a lot of times I ask a question about legacy. You actually beat me to the punch on it. And you're talking about setting up your family. And a lot of people do have that as kind of they're fixed on that, which is great. But it's like, you know what though? Like, what if your kids, they want to have the part of the excitement is the chase. It's the
Yes.
activity and action. It's like playing the game of football. You want to win the Lombardi. If you just hand someone a Lombardi, like they're 5 years old and you said like, you're already a champion, kid. That kid doesn't know, or she doesn't know what it feels like to play the sport or the game. And who's to say that, both your twins or one of them or whatever, they might be more financially successful than you. Who the hell knows? Like they could go and
Exactly.
create
Yeah.
the next widget, the next phone, the next
Yeah.
whatever. And like, you could be even more proud of them for creating something new. Or it doesn't even have to be financial. Maybe they're a school teacher and they're like, their kids all have the highest test scores in the county. That's a
Yeah.
super huge, proud moment as a parent. So I think it's a really cool thing as a parent myself to hit on this, is that like, of course, we all want to set our kids up financially and make it great for them, but you want to do like the lifelong lessons
Yeah.
along with, hey, you know what? Like if something doesn't work out for them, they're not going to be collecting quarters at the drive-in themselves, but like, hey, let's get them into their greatness. And that's actually my
Yeah.
next question. I always end the episodes with be great and be grateful. That's the BGBG here on my merch. Be great, be grateful. So, in your opinion, you've been around a lot of great people in real estate and a lot of good ones too. What separates someone from just being good and to being great?
If I was to boil it down, is one of the greats don't let comfort kill their growth. And what I mean by that is once you become good at something, once you're comfortable, once you're making money or doing something at at a fairly successful level, I see and I feel like that the good people, they kind of sit there, they rest on their laurels. They kind of say, okay, I've kind of made it. I'm good here, because we always hear that comfort is the killer of all growth, and I think that's the difference between the greats. They don't sit
Mm-hmm.
on that. Like they're good is never good enough for the greats, right? And
Mm-hmm.
almost to the point where like Tim talks about this stuff, to the point where there's not a lot of balance sometimes. There's not a lot of, they have to remind themselves that, hey, there's other things in life than what you're really striving after. But I feel like that you have to have that level of obsession to be great. And good's not that hard, right? We can all get to be
Mm-hmm.
good. To be great is a little
Yeah.
bit more difficult because you have to push yourself when you don't have a reason to push yourself. It's easy to push yourself when you're picking up quarters at the drive-through. Your back's against the wall. You have nothing else to do, right? When things are good, the bills are paid. You don't have that motivation, and I think the greats have this fire inside them that they're able to push past that.
Mm-hmm. Really well said, man. Another mic drop moment right there. I love it. Yeah, super. Like the word that is used in Relentless is cleaner.
Yeah,
You hear the word like sales closer or being a closer, and he said like Michael Jordan wasn't a closer, he's a cleaner, and he even said I think Kobe's on that list as well, and it's like this different level where it's the one percenters of their industry, and they're just clicking on a different level. And whether they just had their best year yet or not, they're coming back on 1/1 of the next year, and they're
Yep.
putting in even more effort. It's the Tom Brady thing, man. I'm from Buffalo. You could see the
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills hat here. So Tom Brady is not someone that I very fond of because he kicked their butt for 20 plus years.
Right.
But as I got older and more mature, man, I respected everything about the guy except for like the deflate gate and the stuff. Like,
Right.
let's be real, that was definitely questionable. But I'm just talking about like everyone who's around him knows first guy in, last guy out. It's not just a saying. There was weekends when he wasn't even like the starting quarterback on the Patriots yet, and they're like the security guy is like worried that someone's breaking into the facility, and they go on like a Friday at 7:30 p.m. and then there he is watching film before he was
Yeah.
even anybody.
Yeah.
That's that cleaner mentality, and
Yeah.
you're just not going to get ahead of someone like that by just showing up and being average or even good. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with being good because it's like I feel like that's how I went through school. I showed up, I had a good attitude, I did my homework, I was a good student. I wasn't a great student. There were some classes I liked better, so I was naturally great, like music and stuff came
Yeah.
natural to me, so I did well. But like in math and stuff, I was good because I just
Yeah.
worked hard and did my stuff, and that was it. But when you get great, you got to have this like obsession, passion for it. And that's what I
Yeah.
have for podcasting.
Yeah.
That's what you have in real estate. That's what Michael Jordan has for the game of basketball.
Yeah.
There's no question about like your dedication to the game.
Yeah.
Really good
Yeah.
answer. I
Yeah.
appreciate that reflection, man. Any last words you want to give, wisdom to our audience? Maybe someone who is kind of struggling to put it all together right now, but they have kind of proof of concept. They've seen it work a little bit, and that the light's still burning, and they got like maybe they feel like they got one more chance at it. What would you tell them?
Yeah. If the light's burning, go toward the light. Don't give up on it. Right. It's if you have something you want to do, and don't get discouraged by it not working at first. We're talking about good to great. I mean, it really there's a progression. You have to suck at something before you're average. You have to be average before you're good. You have to be good before you're great. And so in the beginning of everything, it's going to be hard, and you have to be okay to battle through the hard and keep going toward that light. If that fire is burning and you want to make a change, there's we all think that we have to have more resources, and Tony Robbins always talks about that. No, you just have to be more resourceful. What can you do to roll up your sleeves and have a little bit more grit and determination than the next person, or just than yourself, and that you normally would have said, hey, I'm gonna be done for now. Just go do one more thing, take one more step toward that goal, and you will get there. Right? Don't think that you have to go from really sucking to be great overnight. You have to go through that. There's no way to skip those steps. We all have to go through it.
Yeah.
And so
Man, it's
don't
so good.
worry.
It's like the
Yeah.
natural progression in life. You can't go from being an infant to being a mature adult. You have to go
No.
through all those awkward teenage years and
As much
everything.
as we'd like to skip it, we all have to go through it, right?
Yeah, you got to do it, man. And then it's the lessons you learn on the way that actually help that next great idea you have some more substance because you get it and it unlocks things,
Yeah,
opposed to just if you get the formula for something but you don't really appreciate and understand how it works, it's just another thing that's going to collect dust on your bookshelf.
absolutely.
Yeah, this is a great conversation. I feel like we had some fun. We talked family, business, real estate, really a lot of great. It's like a Swiss Army conversation. I really appreciate it, brother. I know you got to run. I'm going to say this again: be great and be grateful. I like to ask people the top three things they're most grateful for. I think I know the top three people you would list, but if
Yeah.
we're not listing people, what would you say you're most grateful for?
I'm grateful for the struggles I've had because of the lessons I've learned from them. And so those two things would be the top: the struggles that I've had and the lessons learned. And really just being able to surround ourselves with, and I know you don't want to name individual people, but having amazing people in your life makes a huge difference.
You could
Especially
totally
that you
name
can
them. I
lean on.
just know who they are already. That's all.
Yeah. Wyatt, Grace, and Teresa. Those are going to be
There you go.
the people I lean on the most.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. A lot of fun, Shawn. I love this conversation. I'm going to stay connected with you and check out vodacy.com as well for all the content that you have going on there. And again, shout out to your podcast. I know you're doing really well. Top 2% most downloaded show. So guys, when you're done listening to this episode, jump over to Vacation Rental Revolution with Shawn Moore. It's a great show that you guys can get connected in for more information. Thank you so much, brother. Grateful for you.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks for having us.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.